So I muted everybody, so you have to unmute if you want to speak. I'm going to share the screen here. We are on question 898 of chapter 12 of book 3. We are talking about virtues and vices. So we start on question 898, okay? You all have it. Zoraida, can you unmute yourself and start? Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot.
Okay.
I forgot you, Paco, but I asked Zoraida today, so I'll let Zoraida continue.
Okay. Okay, 898. Physical life is only a temporary stopover, and our future life is what we should care about primarily. Is there any point in trying to acquire scientific knowledge that only refers to the objects and wants of this world? Of course there is. This knowledge enables you to benefit humankind. Also, if your spirit has already progressed in intelligence, it will rise faster in the spirit life and learn in an hour what it would take years to learn on earth. No knowledge is useless, since it all contributes to your advancement in one form or another. A perfect spirit must know everything, and progress must be made in every direction. All acquired ideas help forward development.
Thanks.
Okay.
Angela, I don't know why you cannot hear. Maybe your computer is with no sound, because everybody's hearing, right? I think so, right? Yeah. Okay. So when I talk about physical life, and this is a very interesting question, right? If we are all eternal spirits and we are all going back to the spiritual world, and true life is in the spiritual world, why should we make an effort for any material progress on earth, right? And actually, we need to evolve morally and intellectually. We have the two wings of evolution, as the spiritual guides have told us. And part of this progress on the scientific or intellectual progress is to make life easier for us here on earth, to make life less painful, make life easier here so we can all work together. So the progress that we have to make here in the material, in the physical life, it's very important. And if we cannot think of any reason why, we should just think of ourselves on our next reincarnation. Do we want to go back and find exactly what we have now, or we would like to have a better life, better conditions to live? Just ask those that were incarnated 300 years ago, before anesthesia was invented, if they wish they had anesthesia during their struggles. So the physical progress on earth, the scientific progress, is very important, and it's a form for us to learn and to prepare ourselves. And also, one thing very important, the more you know, even if you still cannot apply to your moral side, the knowledge will help us overcome the challenges when they come. Because if we have an understanding of what awaits us on the other side, when we get to the other side, understanding our situation and having the knowledge of life in the spiritual world will help us overcome the struggles that we will face there. If you have no idea that we go back to the spiritual world, we have no idea that life continues, it's going to make it more difficult for us to find ourselves in a kind of a comfort zone. in the spiritual world when we move back. So yes, we need to evolve both wings, and the knowledge, it applies to the spiritual life and it applies to the physical life. Anything that we can do to improve our life here on earth and the life of those around us is perfect, valid, and very useful and very need also. Okay.
That's true. Yes. This reminds me of Elmo usually says that when we pass over to the spirit life, that we are the same human, we are the same who we are. We're not going to change just because we go to transition to the spirit world. So if you can get as much knowledge here and take it with you, and like it says here, if you don't, it'll take years to learn on earth. So do it here, and when you go over there, you're much more ahead. You are the same human beings. You're not going to become an Einstein just because you just went over to the spirit world. So the more you learn here, you take with you. It'll help you. You learn faster. If you don't know who you are or where you are when you pass over, I can imagine the difficulties, and we've learned that through mediumship. So it is very, very good and wise to take with you as much as you're learning intellectually what we need to know and grow, and we'll be better off when it's time for us to pass over.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful statement here.
Yeah.
Learn here as much as you can.
And it's it's a balance, right? Because you see people that are only interested in material things in the physical life, and they don't pay any attention to the spiritual reality. And there are people that find only much for their physical life or their material life, and we know that balance is what counts in the end, right? What's important is balance, right? I don't know if you lost some of my thing because my
for a few seconds.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought about you, Renato, when I read this question. Don't know why. Some of your past questions, reminded me of you on this question. Okay.
All right.
You are good with it?
Yeah, I asked this, different variations of the questions. I already got all set. Thanks.
Okay. So.
All right.
Okay. 899.
So now you're going to read the next three because they are all basically the same.
They're related. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Out of two rich individuals who both use their wealth solely for their personal satisfaction, one was born into affluence and has never known want. The other earned his or her wealth by personal labor, which is more shameful? The one who knows suffering and does nothing to relieve it, he or she experiences unrelieved pain. Too often, this person no longer remembers the difficulties he or she has endured. Can those who constantly accumulate wealth without doing good for anyone find an excuse in the fact that they will leave a large fortune to their heirs? This is a compromise with a bad conscience. 901. Imagine a scenario with two miserable individuals. One forgoes the necessities of life and dies in want, surrounded by treasures. The other is self-indulgent and cheap with respect to others. This person winces out at making the smallest sacrifice for others or serving a noble cause, while the course of indulging personal passions is inconsequential. This individual is always short on funds when kindness is asked for others, but has plenty of money to satisfy any of his own whims. Which of them is more disgraceful? Which one will be worse off in the spirit world? The one who recklessly spends money on personal pleasures because if he or she is more selfish than miser. The other is already undergoing a part of atonement.
Okay. So I asked Soraya to read all three together because all three of them talk about the same thing, wealthy individuals, right? And the responsibility of wealthy individuals on their own personal journeys. So the first question talks about two wealthy individuals, one that was already born rich, and the other one who became rich by his personal work. And none of them help those in need. Which one is more shameful? Which one will find themselves more in trouble? And of course, we go back to what we always talk about in Spiritism. The more you know, the more responsible you are. So those that are born in wealthy, they have the excuse of never having lived in necessity. So they may say that they cannot relate to those that are in need. But those that came from a situation of not having things and becoming rich and forgetting about those that they once were part of, the group they were once part of, they are more, they will have to face a bigger responsibility because they know what's to be hungry or that what's to struggle to make ends meet, and still they don't make an effort to help those in need. So it's just a comparison of two wealthy people that refuse to help others. Both of them have a big responsibility because it's our responsibility to help others and to share wealth with others if we have it. But of course, different situations, different responsibilities. And then they ask, but what about those that save all their money, don't give to any other because they want to live to their heirs? And it's a sign of a less evolved spirit that think about it's a selfish thought process, because you are only thinking about yourself and your heirs instead of thinking of doing a greater good. So we have to always think of those in need and try to help. And money is actually the easiest way to help those in need. It's not the best way. It's not the only way. And we know here when we just discussed charity, that charity is much more than giving alms. Actually, giving money is the easiest of the charities that we can make. The more important ones are the ones that we help others in all their needs without thinking of ourselves. And finally, in the third one, when they talk about, again, two individuals, one that has a lot of, is wealthy, but is so miser that doesn't even take care of itself. It ends up dying surrounded by treasures and not benefiting with those treasures, even for themselves. And the other one is the one that we know a lot, which is the one that has a lot of money and indulges on personal passions. The one that buy all the best things for themselves and for their loved ones and don't help others at all. And this is, again, what the Spirit tells us is that the first one, he's already suffering because he has all the money and he doesn't use it even for him or herself. So it's already in a process of pain. And the one that is satisfying all their own whims and not helping others, of course, will have more responsibility because they are already using their money. They should use their money at least partially to help and assist others and those in need. And again, this is a very personal thing of how we can be of assistance. How much is enough for each one of us is also a personal proposition. Some people can live with a lot less than others, but the basic rule that we try to convey here is always that we have to make our life comfortable enough that allow us to be of a service to others. Because if we give everything we have and become a burden to society, we are not helping anyone. We are making ourselves a problem. So we have to have the basic needs, and the basic needs vary for each one, but we always have something to give, even if it's time. Time, if we can give our time to those in need, is already a way of doing charity. Okay? All right. Questions, comments? No? Come on. Okay.
Excuse me, I'll ask one. Why is there a need to distinguish between two individuals who ultimately have a bad look on the world, who are selfish? But why is it one is worse than the other? Why is that being considered?
You were talking about the last question. Or
It's really all of the questions, because they're trying to say that you got two wealthy people and they're both, one born in wealth, one made wealth. They're both bad in the sense that they're not thinking of others. So what is the reason behind making that distinction?
Yeah, it goes back to the more you know, the more responsible you are, right? So you were born. Let's go to extremes. You are born in a palace. You live your whole life isolated in a palace. You don't understand the outside world. And then when you receive your inheritance, you don't distribute your inheritance. Well, you didn't know much about the outside world. So your responsibility is limited to your own selfish in terms of using the money for yourself and not distributing. Different from someone, let's say someone is born in a slum and makes life out of a slum, becomes a rich person, a millionaire, and turns their back to all the poor people that are in need in this world. This person is more responsible because they know what is to struggle, what is to come from very difficult environment. So the fact that they don't help is more serious than the one that has no idea what's going on out there. Again, none are excused. You have responsibilities, but you have more responsibility. The more you know, you have more responsibility. So if you know of a situation, bad situation, and do not make any effort to help, you're more responsible than someone that has no idea what's going on out there and doesn't help because they don't care, in a sense. Was I clear, Mike?
Yes, thanks.
Yeah. The second one is a little bit more complicated. It's someone that both wealthy and one spends a lot and the other doesn't spend anything, saves everything, and doesn't even use for themselves. So in a sense, if you are this kind of person that is so worried about your own fortune that you don't spend anything even on yourself, in itself it's already a kind of a atonement for, or an issue, a mental issue on yourself. So you were already struggling on that aspect. When someone, contrary to someone that has a lot of money and spends a lot of money in everything for themselves, this is more selfish in a way than someone that doesn't spend even for themselves. It's more of a mental issue, in my opinion. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
So going back to what Mike said, and you said it really goes back to the more you know, the more responsible you are. Does that apply to today's age? Because I mean, everybody knows that there's suffering around. I mean, on TV. Does that apply to today?
It does. It does. But of course, the case of the palace is unlike to happen nowadays, right? But but also when someone knows but never lived the situation, you have less responsibility than someone that lived the situation and even living the situation refuses to help. So again, we are not trying to excuse any of them. It's just a matter of responsibility, of knowing what you are doing. So, you know, let's say we study Spiritism here. There's a lot of things that we learn in Spiritism. We are much more responsible with this knowledge that we have than someone that has no knowledge. So we know that life continues, that we continue, that we don't change, that we'll go back to the spiritual world as ourselves. So our actions creates much more responsibility and consequences for ourselves in terms of our knowledge of what we are doing here than someone that thinks that life ends here and that's the only life they're going to live, and they do. So same stupid act done by someone that has the knowledge of Spiritism and someone that has no knowledge of anything and thinks that we end up in this life ends up everything. The one that knows more has more responsibilities, just the responsibilities that we have according to how much we know. You know, we make sometimes we make the comparison with children, right? Which is not completely fair, but it's a good comparison because it makes it easier to understand, right? You punish a 2-year-old child differently than you punished that 14-year-old child for the same mistake, right? Because a 2-year-old really don't know what they're doing. So they go to your house and break a vase. You're not going to punish the same way you punish a 14-year-old that does the same, right? It's more or less in this sense.
Okay, thank you.
Luis.
Sorry to go back to 898. Could you roll back a little, João, because I have only the Portuguese thing. Biden, that it's so much better translated in English than in the Gillion Portuguese translation. I mean, it's so much clearer. And just to make a point here, this is one of those questions that I love because it's so clear, so crystal. My view of this is what they are saying is just two things. Knowledge enables us to help our brothers here. And
we lost you. We lost you, Luis.
Better, more knowledge will help us spiritual life to learn faster and more. I mean, this is so beautiful. Sorry about it.
Yeah, we lost you in the middle. You know, we lost connection in the middle. But yeah, yes, I agree with you. I think it's the more we progress here, the more we are able to help those coming after us, those that are here or those coming after us. And in the end, we're going to help ourselves because we're going to come back, right? Okay. Okay.
Hey, João.
Okay.
Yes, Renato.
No, just to clarify a little bit. You mentioned that, but understand that it's up to one's conscience and merit and everything. But for example, a guy like, I don't know, Warren Buffett, he could do and help a lot of people. I'm not saying that he's not doing it, but you know, at least for our perspective, he could do like even more. Even though he does a lot, you know, he you know, he got so much money, so much ways to do. But so when is enough is enough? That's the question. When enough is enough? When, you know, people that are wealthy, you know, helping people.
Again, it's going to be on each one's own conscience, right? There is no external punishment for our mistakes. It's our own conscience that is going to tell us what we did right and what we did wrong. So, you know, you know how much you can help others, and you know how much you are doing it or not in the end. So these super wealthy billionaires that are doing they are using some of their money to help others, they will have to deal with their own conscience if they have done enough or not. And you know, when we go back to the spiritual world and we see that everything that of material things that were left behind, and we look back at our lives and we analyze what we did, it's our own conscience. And it may take a while, because, you know, it's not immediately when you go back to the spiritual world. For everybody that makes this analysis, some of us will spend some time in not so pleasant places, and then we may even come back to a new incarnation without having a time to be able to reflect, because of our own inability to reflect on our own lives. But eventually, in our eternal journey, we will look back and analyze what we have done with what we had, and the opportunities we had, and the opportunities we missed. It's a personal self-analysis in the end that is going to help us, or self-punish us, if we could use that expression. Yeah, I don't know, I lost you in the middle, so I don't know exactly who you were talking about, but I think that applies to any super wealthy.
All right, thanks, Phil.
Okay, we go to
That's a good one now.
Okay, 902, yes. Is it wrong to wish for wealth as a means of doing good? Such a desire is admirable when it is pure, but is it always truly disinterested? Don't people first desire to do good for themselves?
You know, I think we can all relate, right?
Be careful what you wish for.
Yes. And, you know, so many people think about that. Even those, some people say it out loud, but some people just think about for themselves. I wish I won the lotto so I could help all those in need. Really? Is that really what you want? If it is, then it's admirable because it's pure. But I don't think any of us is really 100% pure. We just want to solve all our financial problems in one quick solution, and then we start thinking about others, right? But again, with the knowledge that when we are talking about spiritism, and Elmo always say this now, right? That in the beginning he wasn't prepared to win because he thought that winning would hurt himself, and now he's completely prepared because he's aware of his responsibilities. And actually, it's that, right? Even if we all want to solve our financial problems quickly, and we will all be happy if we do, but we have knowledge, and with the knowledge that we have of us as eternal spirits, of the need to help others, we have a responsibility. So even if we win, it will increase tenfold our responsibility to be of assistance to those in need. Now, the question is, are you prepared for that? Do you really want that? And that's, again, it's a personal question, personal answer. Nobody needs to say it out loud here. We're not going to judge anyone, and judge starts in the next question also only. So, but again, really, if we wish for a life that allows us to be in good health and in comfortable financial position in order to be able to help those in need, it is not something wrong to wish for. We wish for a better life. It is a natural desire that we have, you know. So let's not start feeling guilty because we want to become rich. We all do. Now, if it happens to you, then it's your own responsibility.
It's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
Well, isn't wealth sometimes could turn out to be a trial?
Oh, not sometimes, all the times.
All the time.
Yes, absolutely, all the time. It's a big trial, a big challenge, because when you have nothing, the only challenge that you have is not become someone that commits crimes to survive. So it's just trying to survive the best you can without committing crimes. That's all you need. That's all you can and should do. But when you become wealthy, the responsibility is much bigger, because then you have to administer this wealth to be of service to yourself and of service to others. And how much can you give to others, and how much time can you dedicate to others, or preserving your own wealth? And this is all issues that people that are very rich have to deal with. Not all of them deal well, most of them don't. But again, you know, I know people that worked their whole life, and when they reached a certain age that they could retire, they had enough money, and they retired and started dedicating their life to helping others. It's a beautiful way of looking at the wealthy that you accumulated, but I think these are the exceptions. But we have good examples. We have Bill Gates, we have Warren Buffett that are there distributing almost all of their fortunes to help others, to assist, to raise the conditions of life of humankind in different ways. So it is possible. It is feasible, and the only thing is, if we get it, we are responsible. And again, it goes back to the question: do we want this responsibility? Ask yourself.
Let's try and be honest.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, 903. Is it wrong to study other people's faults? To do so merely for the sake of criticizing or exposing them is wrong, because it demonstrates a lack of charity. To do so for your own benefit, to avoid replicating those flaws, may sometimes be useful, but you must not forget that understanding the faults of others is one of the elements of charity. Before criticizing others for their flaws, you should look at yourself and see if others could criticize you for the same faults. The only way to profit by such a critical examination of others' faults is by trying to acquire the opposite virtues. Are those you criticize cheap? Be generous. Are they proud? Be humble and modest. Are they callous? Be gentle. Are they cruel and petty? Be great in everything that you do. Basically, act in such a way so that it may not be said of you, in Jesus' words, that you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but you do not see the beam in your own.
Okay, that's a very good and important question, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is wrong to study other people's faults. Well, first thing, we talk about judgment. We are judging all the time, like Julio says, right? Every time we see someone doing something, we make a judgment. Now, this is a learning process. We judge what others are doing, and we are learning, trying to learn from others' achievements or from others' mistakes. They say that the intelligent person learns from their own mistakes, and the geniuses learns from the mistakes of others, right? So we are always judging. Now, what we do with this judgment is what we are going to discuss here. So if we are judging and criticizing and exposing them, of course, we are demonstrating lack of charity, and we are not looking at ourselves, because we are all imperfect spirits. So the moment you criticize others, you open yourself to be criticized, and you are supposed to accept criticism from others, because the moment you criticize others means that you are seeing what they are doing wrong, and you should be open to receive the criticism for the things you are doing wrong also. Okay, that's not easy. So let's not criticize. That's the first thing. If we analyze the mistakes of others and try to understand how we can use them to make ourselves better, that's the approach that we have to take with our judgment of others. And again, we judge all the time. That's part of our evolutionary process. We analyze, if you don't like the word judge, you analyze things that happen around us, and then you make decisions based on the analysis, if you are going to follow one path or another, or you're going to wait for more data to make your decisions. So what they say here, the only way to profit from this critical examination is trying to learn virtues from the mistakes of others, right? Being generous, being humble, being modest, be gentle, be great in everything you do. That's the spirits give us the tools here. But we can only be generous, humble, modest, gentle, and great in everything we do if we don't criticize others. If we keep to ourselves what we are seeing others doing wrong, to a point that, again, when should we interfere or not on others doing wrong? If by interfering on someone that is doing wrong, we are doing it to protect someone else, to protect the greater good, then it is the right approach. But if we are interfering just because we want to show that person what they are doing wrong, then it's definitely lack of charity on our part. Okay? It's a question for us to think and reflect. Questions, comments? Oh, everybody quiet today, okay. You're not seeing any of my faults, thank you.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so now we put in general practice, for the, in general, next one.
Okay. 904. Is it wrong to probe the plagues of society and revealing them? That depends on the motive behind this action. If a writer's only purpose is to create a scandal, he or she obtains personal satisfaction from presenting images or situations that are corruptive rather than instructive. The mind perceives the evils of society. But those who take pleasure in portraying evil for the sake of evil will be punished for doing so. In this case, how can we judge the purity of intention and the sincerity of the authors? It is not always necessary. If authors write good things, you profit by them. If they write bad things, it is a question of conscience. However, if they want to prove their sincerity, do they do it by the excellence of their own example?
Okay, so in this era of fake news, how do we analyze it? This question relates to writers, to journalists, to people that is in times of social media expose things that happen in social media and it happens in the world and disseminate them on social media. We go back to the intention, right? Mm-hmm. You are going to be responsible for what you are doing, and the intention is what really counts as the consequence of your actions. So those that are disseminating fake news, knowing what they are doing, and they're doing just to create noise, create scandals, create issues, to divide society, they will create responsibilities for themselves that they will have to face eventually, because they are not working for the well-being of the majority. Now, there are those that do this because they truly believe that's the right thing to do. They will still be responsible for it, but of course, they will be less responsible than those that are doing this just for the knowing that they are doing evil and still do it. So intention is everything. And again, the word punished here, we know that we're not punished by any external factor. We are punished by our own conscience eventually. But if, let's think about journalists, right, that write articles. If the article is showing problems that we are facing to open the eyes of the public and open the eyes of authorities, this is very relevant. They are revealing the plagues of society for a useful purpose. But if they are just writing the article to scandalize people in a way, to show, you know, that how they call those journalists that go just after the disgraces to publish on the first pages. There is an expression for those journalists. I forgot. Those that
scandal chasers or sensationalists.
Yeah, those types.
Tabloid.
Sorry?
In Portuguese would be the imprensa marrom.
Yeah, the ambulance chasers or something like that. Yeah.
Or tabloid, perhaps.
Yeah.
Tabloid journalism.
So all those that do this because they are only interested in being published on the first page with the more scandalous headline possible, of course they will have more responsibility than those that write serious articles, even showing the same situation, but in terms of alerting society of issues that are going on and that can be addressed, that sometimes are hidden from the general public. You know, this case that just happened in Georgia, right? Of this young black man that was killed by two white gentleman, and he went unpunished and unnoticed until one journalist from the New York Times went down there and started investigated and brought it to the attention of the whole nation. This is a very important case of how an investigation and an article exposing a plague of society is helpful to society as a whole, because it's something that cannot stay hidden there. But again, the intention of him was a noble one. If someone goes after and publishes a picture of the guy dead in the street, and just, you know, with a headline that we see nowadays sometimes, because they are only interested in gaining publicity, then it's a bit more complicated, right? So again, it's not black and white. It's not simple, because there are those that want notoriety and write good articles and important articles. And that's also something that it will help society, and they have their own responsibilities because they wanted just notoriety. But you know, again, responsibility for our own actions. Okay. Questions, comments here? We're good? Okay, next one.
905. There are great books that are full of moral teachings from which their authors have not derived much moral profit despite helping the progress of humanity. Is the good those authors do by their writings be counted to them as spirits? Professing the principles of morality without subsequent action is like having a seed without completing the sowing. What is the point of having the seed if you do not make it bear fruit to feed you? These authors are even guiltier because they possess the intelligence that enables them to understand. By not practicing the virtues they recommend to others, they fail to enjoy the harvest they could reap themselves.
Okay, so very, very quick example, very easy example. Someone that writes a self-help book, those books that help people overcome their struggles, any time of struggles. And so they write a very well-written book. They help a lot of people, and they don't practice what they wrote there. What's the merit responsibility there? Again, they have merit. They are helping people. So if they are helping people, they have merit. If they are not benefiting for themselves, it will be their own issues with themselves. We talked many times in our studies about those geniuses that had difficult personal lives, but helped society to evolve, humanity to evolve. So they have the merit, like Einstein or Martin Luther King, that they had difficult family lives, right? You go talk to their families, they have a lot of complaints on how they behave in their personal lives. But the amount of help they gave to humanity, it's what really matters in their place in history. Their own personal issues are their own personal issues that they will have to deal with those around them, right? It doesn't diminish the merit of the assistance they made to humanity. They fail to enjoy the harvest they could reap themselves. But that's a personal thing, right? So, you know, if we are here, we're talking about spiritism here, right? So we are talking about disseminating spiritism and learning and teaching and giving all the instructions that spiritism provides to us. But if I don't benefit on the personal side of everything that I'm learning and that I'm teaching, that's my own personal issue, right? You know, I may have helped others, but if I don't benefit it for myself, I'll have to face the consequences for myself. We go back to the spiritual world. We hope we don't end up in the hospital for spiritists, right? Like they say, it exists there in some books of Divaldo. And but you have, everything is a balance, right? You should lead by example. That's the best way to progress. Like Francis of Assisi said, right? Preach, and if you need, use words. Preach in the sense that show by example what's the right thing to do. If you need to speak, you speak. But if you can show just by leading by example, that's the best way to help others. So again, cause and consequence, or the more you know, the more responsible you are. But in the end, is our own individual journey, and we'll be responsible for our own actions, and we'll reap the benefits of our good deeds. Even if we haven't used them to ourselves, there will always be some benefit for ourselves, because at least, you go back to the spiritual world, even if you are struggling, there will be a lot of spirits there that will be thankful to you and will be willing to help you like they were helped. So that is also something that will benefit us, right? Okay? Questions, comments? Man, you felt asleep, Renato? What happened there? Too boring today?
No, so, you know me. I when I feel like I need to ask, I'll ask. But so far, it's just
Okay.
it's pretty clear. You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
You are. True. That's true. He's answering everything.
Okay, so the last one, and we're going to stop here. We're not going into passions until next week.
No, right. Okay, 906. Is it wrong for those who do good to be conscious of goodness of their deed and to acknowledge that goodness to themselves? Since human beings are aware of the bad they do, they must also be aware of the good they do as well. It is only by this recognition of their conscience that they can know whether they have done good or bad. By weighing all their actions according to God's law, especially the law of justice, love, and charity, they can decide whether they are good or bad, and can approve or disapprove of those actions accordingly. Therefore, it is not wrong to recognize the fact that they have triumphed over evil and rejoice in having done so, provided that this does not turn into narcissism, because that would be as reprehensible as any of the faults over which they have triumphant.
Okay, this is a very good question, right? Because we are here learning how we should behave, trying to become better individuals, better spirits, to evolve morally and intellectually. So if we are trying to do good and we succeed in doing good, can we feel proud of ourselves, or this is selfishness? Again, it's our journey of evolving. We need to recognize our imperfections, and every time we overcome our imperfections, even if it's only temporary. There is no problem at all in feeling proud of ourselves, in feeling happy that we have been able to overcome that imperfection, that challenge. So to recognize our own good actions, it's important in our evolutionary journey. Now, when it becomes part of us, when we always say, right, when we acquire virtues and those virtues become part of us, we will do it without even acknowledging that to ourselves that we are doing, because it's second nature. When it becomes second nature, we will no longer need to give ourselves a pat in the back, good job. But until we get there, there's nothing wrong in feeling proud of the good that we have done against our inferior tendencies. It's important that we recognize, because it will give us incentive to move forward, incentive to try to do it again. If we feel happy about doing these actions that go against our inferior tendencies, we should feel proud of ourselves. We should feel happy for doing it, and we should try to make a habit out of it. But we are only going to make a habit out of it if we do it several times. But until then, let's be proud of ourselves for every little thing that we achieve, every small evolution that we achieve on our intellectual and moral path, especially on the moral one, but in the intellectual one also.
Yeah, that
You're
makes
so
sense.
right, John. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
so right, because a lot of times what we do is focus on the negative and go over, oh, why did I do this? Why I'm not good? I should have done this. I should have done that. And when something comes out good, we kind of overlook it. But I'm learning very slowly. When something comes out good, and I know I had part of it, yeah, I feel happy. But we have to do that more often, because you need the positive and not so much negative, and that helps you go on and strive for more. Because the better you feel, the more you're going to work at it. You say, oh, God, yeah. Oh, now next time I got it. It's a learning process.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
And even when people praise you, let's take it with not with false humility, but with the acknowledgement that if we deserve the praise, we should take it. There is nothing wrong with that. It helps us. It helps everyone. If you see someone doing a good job, there's nothing wrong in praising them, and nothing wrong in acknowledging. Now, if we were being praised for something we have not done, then it's with us and our own conscience. But it's as we evolve, we still imperfect spirits, and we need these incentives from others and this help and mutual help and assistance, right? What the spirits here tell us is just be careful not to be basking in glory and not doing it again.
Right.
So
Right.
I did my one deed today. I don't need to do anything else good today.
No.
That's when it becomes a problem, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. 7:29. We can stop here. Let me stop sharing. Let me talk about what we have ahead of us. So first thing, we launched yesterday a campaign to raise some money for SGNY because, of course, in these difficult times that we don't have the possibility of going to the center, we still have to pay rent, we still have to pay expenses, and so of course revenues have reduced a lot, and we appreciate everyone that has donated. We already received a very good amount of help and assistance, and we appreciate everyone. We understand those that are going through a difficult situation and cannot help. We understand that also, and those that will still be able to help later, we appreciate. We will continue to this campaign to try to continue surviving, because we want to get to the other side of this, having resources to keep our center open. And again, it's not something that we are struggling. It's more of a preventive scenario that we are trying. If we stay closed for 3-4 months, it then will start to become a situation. So that's why we're starting early, so we don't have any issues later. So we thank you, we appreciate, it's for all of us, so we can all be together soon, and we will continue sending these emails and these requests, and we appreciate, we thank you for all that have contributed. So this Saturday we have our weekly lectures by the United States Spiritist Federation. And the lecture will be by Peter Hayes, who is the president of the Spiritist Center Love and Light in Newark. Many of you have seen him in our symposiums, in events. He's going to be talking about Go and Preach. Okay, so this Saturday at 11 a.m. And in 3 weeks' time, we have our symposium, which is going to be on June 6 and 7. June 6 starting at 4 p.m. our time and finishing at 7 p.m. And on Sunday, starting at noon our time and finishing at 3 p.m. So it's soul searching in a technological area. It's going to be a couple of lectures and a couple of panels that we're going to talk. It's a very interesting first symposium that we do virtual, so everyone will have the opportunity of being part of it, of participating. And I hope you can all join us at least one of those days partially, because it will help us, you know, the Spiritist movement in this country will help us that we have more people participating in those national events, okay? Carol, can you do our final prayer, please? Thanks.
Thank you, John. Yes. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, all goodness and grace, we are grateful for the opportunity this evening to be together to share the teachings of the Spirit's book. We are truly grateful of all the lessons that we have learned. May we put them into practice throughout the week and throughout our lifetime. We know that there will be challenges, especially in the sense of wealth or monetary accumulation, but we know that we can equally share our time, our talent, and our treasures within us. May we do so with grace, with ease, and with an open heart. We give thanks to our spiritual benefactors and the good spirits and our mentors who are with us, helping us to stay unified during this time, bringing us assistance, bringing us courage, hope, and a positive, uplifting mindset. We are truly grateful for their guidance and for their assistance throughout. And this evening, may we continue throughout the week with our prayers, with our studies, with our mindfulness, with our contemplations and meditations. And may we use the knowledge that we have received and that we have gleaned to make the world better, to share in our immediate families, in our neighborhoods, in our communities, and in the sense our global world. As we close tonight, we humbly ask for safety and protection. We ask for health, well-being, and we give thanks to all those who have been assisting during the pandemic. We know that we are not out of the woods yet, but we know and we truly believe that this will be a positive outcome for all of us. Our vibrations will be increased, our mindset will be strengthened, and our endurance will continue. We close now and ask for the Christ light within to go forth within us and also to share with others. We close now and ask to be beacons of light. Go forth now in peace, so be it.